Hey guys, so this is so funny. I have to share this with you. So all this week we've been talking about being the witness as opposed to being the one who is taking on the burden of your thoughts and your feelings and the things that happen in your life experience, right? You take them on as this is happening to me and, oh my gosh, my life, and right? And instead of that, seeing it from a place of witnessing it, meaning that you're not involved in it personally. Yeah, because you're really not. When we say we're involved in it personally, that's another way of saying you're taking it personally. Yeah, and in fact, believe it or not, there's no person there to take it personally. Now you may think you're a person, but again, if you truly ask, well, what is this person I think I am? All you're going to come up with is a bunch of thoughts of, well, my name is Dave, and I believe this about Dave, and I believe this is what happened when I was 5, and, this is how I feel about relationships, and, I want to be married, or I don't want to be married, and I want kids, and I don't want kids, I want a career, I don't want a career, I want to be wealthy, all these kind of things, right? I want a nice car. I don't like the crappy car I'm driving. It doesn't matter what it is, right? But these are all just thoughts that we get involved in, and we take it personally, which in actuality you can't, because you're not a person. Anyhow, so I want to get to the story. So I'm driving home. I just walked in the door about 5-10 minutes ago. I'm driving home. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I live up on a hill. So I come up my street just like I normally do. And there's this young guy, I'm going to say he was probably in his mid-20s. And he's walking down the street on the right-hand side. And I'm coming up the street. And he's just walking and walking. And he walks past this driveway, which had just a little shelter for the car, like a carport kind of thing. And as I'm driving up towards him and he's coming down, he stops and he gives the finger, as we say, both of them, and he was really mad. He stopped and he looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, who is he giving, who is he doing that to, being so derogatory to? I figured there was somebody in the driveway that he didn't like. And as I drive by him, there are 2 deer in the driveway, just like eating grass on the side of the driveway. So it was a doe and its yearling, just, so he stopped and the deer kind of just went like this, looked at him like this, and he gave him this really angry, gave him the finger, and the deer just kind of went, meh, and went back to eating, right? So he was completely offended that the deer didn't run away. He got really mad, and then he finally just shuffled off like he had no choice. That's all. He was helpless to do anything about these deer. And I know in Ashland, if you haven't heard this, where we live in Ashland, Oregon, we have a lot of deer because, we have a lot of mountain around us. They come right down into Ashland and they eat our vegetable gardens and they eat our plants and shrubbery. And people put up these huge monstrosities of deer fencing to keep them out. So I think that's probably, he's probably had to deal with deer doing something in his life. But here's the idea, guys. The deer were completely oblivious to any meaning that this guy had towards being derogatory and giving him the finger, right? Now, if that were you and I, we would be unbelievably insulted. We would to the point where we would feel completely offended, right? If somebody just came up and said, ah, right? And did that to you, you'd be crushed. You'd be like, why is this man mad at me, first of all? And how dare you do that to me? And then your ego gets involved because you take it personally, right? Now, there was either one of 2 things going on. Either those were very enlightened deer, and they realized, I'm just witnessing this. I have no idea why this guy's upset, but I'm not taking it personally. Or nature is completely benign. And so I'll tell you what I mean by that. You've heard of, like with cancers, right? That it's either malignant, meaning it's growing, that's not a good thing, or it's benign, meaning it's not doing anything. So I used to take, for a couple years, I took primitive living skills and wilderness survival. And one of my instructors, Mors Kachansky, this was up in Canada outside of Edmonton, Alberta. I'd go up there 2 different years. I went up there during the dead of winter to be on his survival courses. And he was very, very well known teaching the armed forces both in Canada and in the United States, and special forces in wilderness winter survival. And he said, nature is benign. It does not do anything against you or for you. Nature just does its thing. It's only you that are going to consider, based on where you are and what's going on, whether nature is with you or against you. But it's neither with you or against you. So that not only has to do with the weather, or floods, or hurricanes, or tornadoes, or earthquakes, or forest fires. They're benign. They're just doing their thing, right? And it's the same thing with animals, most of them. So deer, bear, all these things, even if a bear's, or a mountain lion or anything like that, they're just doing their thing. They don't have anything against you. They don't say, you're a terrible person, I'm going to come after you now, right? If that was, could you imagine if wilderness, the wild, the nature was like that? You'd be walking and trees would be dropping limbs on you, right? You'd be walking down the street and being attacked by squirrels if squirrels took you personally. So you see, we're the only ones on this planet, at least, that take things personally. And it's absolutely absurd to the point of it being hysterically funny. So when you can start laughing at yourself and realizing all the times that you're taking things personally and realizing there's no reason to take any of this personally, because you're not even a person. But you're holding on to these ideas of, well, this is who I am. I'm a man, I'm a woman, and that guy said something to me and that's insulting, and that woman said something to me. How could she reject me? Or it doesn't matter. You get the point, right? It doesn't matter what's happening. It only matters if you take it personally, and the only way you're going to take it personally is if you're basing it on beliefs about how you feel about who you are, or who you think you are, or believe yourself to be. So I want you to start being like the deer. And no matter what anybody says to you or does, you just kind of look up at them and then go back to your eating your grass, right? They're not going to know what to do with you, just like this guy on the street. He walked away in complete frustration because he couldn't do anything, right? He's like, what's wrong with these deer? They're not even afraid of me, okay? So I just wanted to share that with you to show you some of the things that can be incredibly funny when you start just witnessing what's going on in your life, okay? So until I see you next, take good care, and remember, I love your guts.